I know I promised in my previous video that in my next video, full length video, outside of my Baldur's Gate 3 gameplay videos, because those have been scheduled for a while. But I promised in that video that I was going to put up, my next video was going to be me recommending queer African authors that you should read in October, seeing that October is Pride Month in South Africa. Um, but with the present state of things going on in the world, I found myself wanting to film just a sit down conversation, no notes, just me, the camera, and whoever is watching me at the moment. And I want to ask a very important question of Booktube, Book Talk, Book Twitter, and Bookstagram, which is, why do you read? Just take a moment, consider it, and if you can, drop it in the comments of this video. Why do you read? Because see, I read for a bunch of reasons, a variety of reasons, for entertainment, for fun, but also because I love stories about resistance. I love stories about people fighting back, um, because I live in a country formerly colonized by the British, utterly brutalized by the British. The very concept of Nigeria as a state, as an entity, would not exist without the British, because prior to the British, we were all different individual beings and peoples and tribes, right? And this random man just drew lines around the map and said, this is a region and we'll call it Nigeria. And if you speak to Nigerians today, they will tell you that that act in itself is one that we are still feeling the effects of till today. But this is not a history lesson on how the entity that is Nigeria was just created for as a business unit for the British Crown and its self-interest. That is not what this video is about. This video is to ask you, why do you read? Because like I said, I read for resistance. And the reason why I'm asking is because of the deafening silence. The deafening silence that I've witnessed on Book Twitter, on Book Talk, on Bookstagram, and on Booktube about the genocide that is happening in Palestine and how the settler colony state that is Israel is so openly, publicly stating its intention and following through with its intention of massacring and completing the absolute, utter genocide of the Palestinian people, to the applause in a lot of cases and silence in most cases of the world, but particularly of people in the global north. Now, the reason I can film this video is because I know a lot of people who watch my channel reside in the global north, right? And you all are probably wondering, like, Noria, but I don't, if you're surprised at me making this video, I'm like, I'm sorry, what? I repeat, I read for entertainment, to relax, to lose myself in new worlds. But I read a lot of science fiction and fantasy. A lot of fantasy, actually. More fantasy than science fiction. I read a lot of fantasy. And a lot of the books I gravitate towards that I read are usually, mostly, a lot of them are about resistance. People resisting their oppressors, individuals resisting a society that would see them, subjugated. That is a lot of what I read. And I guess for me, it's pretty easy right? It's pretty easy, and my politics are pretty simple. I will stand with oppressed people because that is a decent thing to do. And I know a lot of people are coming to this conversation in the last week without any context, any understanding, and any research. But I'm not like, those are not people on Booktube, those are not people on Book Twitter. I should hope not. But what I have noticed is the overwhelming silence of a lot of my mutuals on on those platforms, including this one that you're possibly watching me on. And I've also noticed a lot of people following me on Twitter because, like, I guess they have a problem with me being very vocal about the fact that the colonist settler state of Israel is openly celebrating its genocide of Palestinians. And then the way in which people like to bring in, oh my God, if you say, free Palestine and you're pushing for the freedom of the Palestinian people, then you want Jewish people dead. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Where exactly did we say we want Jewish people dead? Where exactly did we say we want Jewish people dead? In fact, I think people purposefully equating Zionists, Zionist people living in the settler state, the settler colony state of Israel with Jewish people in itself is what a lot of people should be questioning. Because are you unaware that they are Palestinian Jews? Like, what? And so I find it interesting that a lot of the same people who, let me give an let me I find it interesting that a lot of the people who love an ember in the ashes and who love Daughter of Smoke and Bone, right? And who love the city we became, which literally is a story about the resisting of a settler colonist plane that wants to superimpose itself on New York City. Like the same people that read this resistance present in Children of Blood and Bone, like the same people that read these books are all crickets when it comes to actual oppressed people. Like, y'all will go to bat for fictional oppressed people. But when it comes to actual oppressed people that are about to be bombed out of existence, over 2 million Palestinians, of which half of them are fucking children. It's all quiet. It's all crickets. Why? The same people who are all, and this is like, we would have another conversation about Sarah J. Maas and her connection to the state of Israel. Another conversation. And, or rather, our discovery of our connection to Israel. But the same people that are all like, Aileen, Queen, fight for your people. Resist, resist, fuck Maeve, fuck Arabin, fuck these people, fuck blah, 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 fuck the king of... The same people who collectively hated Kale until, Tower of Dawn. But the same people who collectively hated Kale for how he was so quick to be all like, I don't want Aileen to have any powers because then she would lead her people in a revolt for the atrocities that had been committed against them, ignoring the eradication of a people, the killing of the leaders, the imprisonment, the slaves that were created from the displacements of her people. The same people that were so upset, like the same readers that were so upset at Kale's words and his thoughts and his feelings to Aileen, and her justified anger at what it is that her people have gone through. Those same people now, when it's become actual, literal, oppressed people, are either silent or worse, giving a spiel of, we need to consider both sides, Which leads me once again to my question: why do you read? Because I get it, reading is an escape. But are there themes in what you're reading that you interpret and that, you take on forward in the rest of your life? Because I recall when Owl creates, which is why I'm like, Booktube, Book Twitter, Bookstagram, Book Talk, you all are very selective. It's like you can only take on one cause at a time, like one political issue at a time. Because I remember when Alcrate had that old stupid ass post about how, um, everybody hates J.K. Turfling's words and, her transphobia, but Harry Potter is, the only book they ever read as children, and so they're sorry they cannot let go of the world and everything else because, sure, they do not agree with what J.K. Turfling is saying, but, fuck everybody else. You all came out en masse. There were videos, there were threads, there were posts, there were tweets, there were everything. Like, you all came out en masse in those conversations. You are like, no, we're gonna drag. I'll fucking dare you. You all did that. And then, I remember 2021, we were all coming out after the murder of George Floyd, and you all decided that was when you all realized that police brutality against black bodies is a thing, and you're going to come out and everything else. Like, you did that temporarily because after that it was silence from yours end, but fine. NSARS was that same year, but I guess you all were like, our capacity for stepping into these conversations, we've reached that limit with George Floyd, so a lot of you all were like quiet about that. But I was like, you know what, Nigerians, especially me, sure, no problem. It's not fuck police brutality, it's fuck police brutality in certain areas, in certain states. But you had reached your capacity. And then, when Russia decided that they were not going to respect the borders and they were instead going to occupy Ukraine, you all came out in numbers. Justice for Ukraine, fight for Ukraine, etc. Ukraine. Which, of course, I repeat, I would always be on the path and I will be on the side of people resisting colonialism, resisting the oppressions of their people, because what the fuck? But it's Palestine now. So once again, it's a case of you all have hit your capacity, like a lot of, you give all of that for Ukraine, so like nothing for Palestine, I guess. And I repeat, why do you read? This is not a general conversation. Like, this is not a general question for everybody, right? I I am on a platform, right? I'm on a platform, and you all know I play video games, right? You all have seen that. I love manga. One Piece is one of my absolute favorite stories of all time. And like, One Piece is literally about resistance. It's a manga about pirates. It's it's a manga about pirates, and I've already said it on my channel that I am a firm supporter of the pirates over the over the navy in One Piece. Like literally every arc is about a group of people resisting oppression, fighting back, pushing back, the Straw Hats coming and helping to join in that fight and bringing them victory. It's the reason why Luffy is a symbol for freedom. Like, why do you all read? I think as we are watching this, and because I feel powerless, it's the reason why I started a fucking reader thing called the Fuckathon. Because books are a form for me of resistance. But the focus is not just going to be on fictional characters, but also in me taking those politics, and me taking that politics, and me taking those thoughts into real life and actually resisting. That is what I do. Now, I do not have the power to sanction Israel. I do not have the power to be all like, how can you use white phosphorus in densely populated areas, especially areas where 50% of the population are fucking children? I don't have those powers. So what I'm going to do is amplify voices on social media and contribute to those conversations and let it be known very vocally that I stand with Palestine, that Palestine should be free, and that there is absolutely no reason why the entire world should watch in silence whilst the colonist state, the settler colonist state of Israel, wipes out Palestine. We should not be silent in the face of fucking genocide. Why do you all read? Why do you read? And we're still going to have conversations about Haiti because Haiti is still there. Fuck Kenya. Fuck France. Fuck the US. In fact, we're going to get there. Like, that is a whole other conversation. No, actually, it's still the same fucking conversation. If you're not using your voice, if you're not in the little ways that you can, if you're not using your voice, if the only resistant fights that you have any interest in are fictional ones, you should be asking yourself very important questions. What do you stand for? Who are you? Why do you read?